Hey guys, and welcome back. We are now back with the Black Supra again. So this is episode 3 on this particular car. We now have our engine out of the car. I've got the engine mounts were on it, like bolted in. So we did fight that a little bit, obviously, as you saw last episode. They're out now anyway. I've got the engine stand here, which has our bolts. I also forgot the bolts last time, so really unorganized, and it took a lot longer than expected. Anyway, that's out of the way. Now we've got a whole bunch of parts from Yakuza Motorsports, and we're going to be servicing this. So we've got seals, gaskets, and a timing kit before we put it in the car and eventually get it started and driving. So let's go. And Yagi is back for this episode as well. Well, you get your head on the camera, buddy. You ready to service an engine? I reckon he's ready. He's wagging. He's wagging, he's ready. This is a 2J, better than RBs. Remember, RB 2J good. Alright, he's got it. Alright, now the engine is up, it's being supported by the stand. We need some brake cleaner now before we bother, because we've got a lot of mess here to take care of. So you've seen me do a timing belt before in the white car just over there. Now we're going to be doing the exact same thing on this engine. Difference is it's NA, the other one's turbo, but otherwise exactly the same configuration. 2J to 2J is almost identical. You've got different water pumps, different oil pumps internally, but externally there is no difference. We're gonna have to get this fan off, we're gonna get these covers off and expose the belt. We're gonna remove that belt and the tensioner, and we're gonna have to remove this harmonic balancer to get any of that off. Then put the new belt on, again that we've got from Yakuza Motorsports, and that way once we get this timed up and put back together, I know 100% we're not gonna have any issues and the car's going to be completely fine. There's a lot of mess here behind the covers, and we're gonna have to clean that down as well. One thing that happened to this engine before I owned it was that the timing belt, for whatever reason, as you can see this cut here, I'll bring you around and I'll show you, it actually has this cut all the way down here along the belt. I asked the previous owner about that, and for whatever reason the belt slipped forward. I am not sure why, but it's cut through this perfectly, and he says he's replaced it since. As precaution, we're replacing it again and doing everything so I know it's proper before it even goes in. First things first, we're going to need to get this harmonic balancer off, which is this bolt. Now in the car you could chuck it in gear and you could have the crank locked by using the gearbox. In this case, the engine is completely free from anything, so what we've got to do is use these flywheel bolts, and we need to chuck these in the crank. I'm going to put 2 of these in, and we're going to use the lever bar to hold the crank straight so that we can lock the crank. I'll get this here. It's gonna sit itself there. Fan off. Pull it off. Now for this. Got a 22mm socket on a ratchet. Oh, that is a lot of force. I think they've lopsided this. Whew. Doesn't usually take that much effort. So, when this doesn't work, we go to this. This is the don't with me bar. Let's see what it wants to do now. Still wants to with me. I reckon they've put a lot of Loctite in this. It shouldn't be this tight. Oh, that's gonna break a rib. Oh, I hate you guys that did this before. Oh, you did not need to go this hard. There's only one thing stronger than this bar, and that's using a you extension. That's insane. That's just an asshole move. Whoever did that, asshole. Oh. Stop doing this, Supra kids. It's not necessary. I'm stuck. But Mario showed up. So,
I'm ready.
Mario and a hammer. We're gonna try and do exactly what I was doing with the fuck you bar and the fuck you extension. And Mario's going to hammer right here to shock it as I'm trying to turn this. And hopefully that breaks free this little... I hate the last person that did this. Just close your eyes a bit.
Me. That's
Mario gave up. I'm waiting for it to snap. Yeah, honestly. Do you want safety glasses?
I need a safety suit.
I do not have a face shield.
Me.
It's impressive.
Because like I'm fucking this up now. Are you sure it's not a lefty tighty?
I know it's not lefty tighty. It's anti-clockwise. Because I thought this when I was doing my last one. Matt's sure of something, Matt was wrong.
Yeah, no, this totally isn't connected to the inside of the car.
Oh,
that's That's
We've had a debrief, talked about life, joked around. We're back in.
ain't no joke. Ain't
Yeah.
no joke.
Now I just don't care. So I'm gonna break this bar. What is stronger? A breaker bar or a 2JZ? Alright, close your eyes everybody.
Safety squints on.
We're in safety glasses.
Safety squints, you pussy.
Safety squint it is. Alright, let's f***ing go. I think it moved.
No way.
I can't even break the breaker bar.
Alright.
Look at the bar. Look at the bar now.
Oh no.
Oh man.
I'm a little bit f***ed up.
I'm gonna go again. This is where you get injured and we find a reason to go to hospital for a great story. Close your eyes. Dead.
Pause, let's rotate it where we've got room that way. I think we turn this way a bit so you have all the room in the world to hang off the
Can you see that?
Oh, banana.
No, seriously, look. That's the original angle. That's where it's going.
Well, now when you tighten the we'll just do the same this way.
This is fucked. Oh my god. Okay, so you just missed what just happened, but it moved. It cracked. Can we see the moment where it cracked? I want to see that surprise in my face. Oh, it worked.
Yes!
I can't believe that actually happened. That wouldn't have happened if he wasn't holding the engine back, because that was going to tilt over. That is insane. Look at this bar. Okay. That's fucked.
Selling one breaker bar on Facebook Marketplace?
No, Matt Jay-Z's breaker bar. This is a Matt Jay-Z product. It is actually not for sale, but I will sign it. I will engrave it.
And we will not give it away because this is good for another 3 more of these bolts.
Yeah, what's the date today? The 24th. We'll engrave it the 24th of May 2025 Matt Jay-Z breaker bar. Mario is gone now. Now we can actually continue. Oh man, that still is tight even though it was loosened. Oh my god. Really? What the? Ah, okay. That was small bit concerning, wasn't it? Yeah. Was the culprit rust? Or was it Loctite? So obviously the previous guys have put a new bolt in, which means this is new. There's no cracking on this at all. So that's good, that's not going anywhere. The water pump, nice and shiny without cleaning it. I think that's new. So all we have to do is the timing belt and the tensioner, which is really nice and easy. We've got to get this off first. The next hardish part is getting this off. Now I've got the pulling tool for it. I need to see if I've got the bolts to go into these threads. We have 2 threaded holes. We're going to put 2 bolts in there on the pulling tool, and we're going to get this back. Now the last video you saw with the white car, it's got a different balancer. It's got a fluid damper balancer, a racing one, and it does not have these holes, so we had to use the clamping tool that goes over the outside. This one, the face sits here with holes in it. Put the bolts in, and a threaded rod pushes into the middle, pulls this back. You're going to need something to sit in here. This winds in, presses against it, against the crank, and pulls the harmonic balancer back. Maddie has left to go shopping, and the sausage dogs are now hanging around me, looking for some form of comfort. You're gonna make sure these are in nice and deep, just so that it doesn't rip the threads out and destroy your harmonic balancer. I've wound these in all the way, just gonna nip them up a little bit. It never hurt to use a little bit of heat to actually warm everything up. It'll expand that little bit and it'll come off a little bit easier. I did not use this on the crank bolt, as you saw, because I didn't have this at the time. It was at Mum's house. Here it is now. I'm going to actually warm this up this time. It will come off more easily than it would without it, because it's actually freezing in Sydney at the moment, and everything, including myself, has shrunk a little bit. Oh, and it's coming off effortlessly. No resistance whatsoever, as you can see. That is easier than some cars' power steering. A little bit more. All right, harmonic balancer is off. Alright, so I'll get you a little bit closer to the action. We've got to loosen this, but with fairly even pressure, so that the tensioner comes down and we can take the belts off. If we do too much on one side, we'll snap the old tensioner, and we have the potential of snapping this where it mounts to, and we don't want that. On my other engine, I have actually cracked this mount, but it kind of holds itself together well enough. There's one. See the timing belt losing all its tension now. That's done. This is out. We've got to loosen him so we can get that off altogether. Doesn't need to be on at all. Did I rotate it to top dead center? No. Are we going to? Yeah, we'll deal with that later. And the 10mm for this tensioner. We're going to take this off, and then I'm going to clean this whole thing down. Back to our pulling tool. The GTE has a key here that stops that from coming back. I guess this one doesn't. Anyway, so same deal with this. We're going to heat it up, and this way it's going to expand that little bit, and it's going to make it really easy for this to come off. And behind that is the front main seal. That's why we're taking this off. Otherwise we wouldn't be bothering with it. Before we even put the new timing belt on, we're going to take off the top end, because we're going to do the cam seals. We're going to be needing to get these off. We're going to strip down most of it before all of it goes back together at once. Yagi here is scared. So scared of the vacuum cleaner. Little pussy. Alright. So I've actually WD-40'd this as well. I've locked in these bolts as far as they'll go into the gear, and they've already actually pulled it back a bit. That's how loose it already is. Look at that. And the gear is off. Time to clean. Here in our box of goodies from Yakuza Motorsports, we have our new timing belt kit. We've got the belt, front main seal, and the cam seals here, new tensioner, and a new idler bearing for that tensioner. We've also got a rear main seal, new gaskets for the exhaust manifold, because this exhaust manifold didn't have any, and we've got new cam cover gaskets. Again, thanks Yakuza Motorsports for supporting this build. Kind of ashamed to be doing this, because I guarantee that they did it as well. We need to get right in here, just behind the seal, hook in, and it does destroy the seal in the process. You kind of just hope they don't fight, but this one did fight a little bit. Here's the new seal. When we're doing this, we're going to put some sealant around the outside, at least I do, so that it doesn't push out for any reason. It's not boosted, there's no real reason for it to fall out, but just in case, I always do this. This is going to be working like a glue, just to make sure that you don't experience an event where it pops out. You don't want to get any of this stuff on the inside. What you want on the inside is some engine oil. This way it doesn't bind when you install it, and it doesn't tear, because they can, and they will, and they have torn in the past. Get that over. There shouldn't be any resistance here. Get one part on, feed the rest on, while keeping it all straight. I want it to be flush with the oil pump. Perfect. So there is our front main seal done. Now we're going to be doing the cam cover gaskets. So we're going to undo each of these bolts, take off the cam covers. Also, we're going to lock the cams so I can undo these cam gears. We're going to do the cam seals.
all of them are off. Let's get this out of the way. Take that off first. And we'll get this out of the way. So we're going to be replacing, of course, these seals. They don't feel too bad, but they do feel a bit old. So these are going in the bin. Another thing we're making sure of in here is that all of these actually do have oil. So I am going to oil all of them. This engine hasn't been run in about 3 years now. So there is actually no real oil on this. So when we rotated it to test it last episode, this is pressing on the cam caps that have spring pressure pushing against them, and it's very bad for them. But once we get oil on them, they'll be beautiful. Not going to cause any damage, but at the same time, it is probably like a marginal bit of wear that we want to avoid. So before we start this engine, something we were always going to do is pull off the cam covers, oil all of these. That way, when it rotates again, it is all safe and doesn't destroy itself. But otherwise, it's all nice and clean. A little bit of brown, but this is cleaner than the engine in that car. Also, very important, we clean this surface. So gonna spray if we need to, but for now I'm just going to wipe down all of the leftover oil, so when the new seals go on, it's onto a clean surface and it actually mates properly and we don't have any oil leaks. Okay, so I know this is wrong, but hear me out. To lock the cam gears, because I don't have the correct spanner, I don't have the correct tooling for it, you can actually just use this, a nut and a bolt stuck together. I've seen this on a TikTok video. I tried it and it has worked. So I mean, sorry internet, but it works. We're taking these off because behind the cam gears live the cam seals. I'm sure these ones are going to be as old as the engine and they have to go. Well, there's one. There's two. Get that out, a special tool. Cam gear off, other cam gear off, and we're gonna get this plate off. We're going to replace all these vacuum lines because they are crap. There they are. And that'll be them. Yep, as you can see, they don't look bad. You could imagine they might be leaking, seeing the oil here, but I'm not sure if that's just mess from before. Either way, they are getting replaced, of course. With our apprentice Jaeger, we will be putting some oil along here. So I'm just dipping my finger into this oil, and I'm just getting as much of it as I can on the camshaft lobes. And now we've got apprentice Milo. Now we're doing the cam seals. Gonna take off these two, one at a time. Pressure, oh my God. Oh, they are tight. Whew. I don't think these have ever been done. Two. Now, do they come off easily? No, of course not. Chuck these in. Give it a tap. Rubber mallet. This is very well stuck on. Again, we'll give it a little bit of heat just in case. Not really sure why they're not coming off easily, but you don't want to hurt them. I've tried a little bit of heat. I've tried the rubber mallet. Now I'm just lightly tapping. For anyone that cries. Beautiful, look at that. Almost no resistance. A little bit of patience, a little bit of a soft touch, and off comes the cam caps. Pull that back. Holy sh**, that is a rock solid piece of seal there. That is rubbish. It's absolutely not able to continue its life. That's finished. Throw that out. Get that off. Same thing. Just pull it out square. Yeah, that is like a biscuit. That would have been pissing out oil, or at least leaking it slowly. I've cleaned the surfaces now, and there's only that leftover bit. So something to consider is using a little bit of Scotch-Brite, and this will just clean up the slightly more aggressive stuff that's on the surface. Might even be like a little bit of rust build-up, and you're not actually scratching into it much. You're actually just breaking up anything that's a little bit harder on the surface. You don't want to dig in too much either, because you can't create grooves. This does have to spin freely and smoothly along a seal without tearing it apart. If you go too far though, you can create damage. So just want a light layer off it, and it's nice to clean the tops of these too. There's after and there's before. I typically don't really follow any rules, torque specs, whatever, they'll be okay. Bit of Loctite, even though there wasn't any on them before. We're going to sit these in there. There you go. Engine builders, don't hate me, don't stress out. With the seals, we'll just lubricate the inside of this. I'm going to do the same with this one, just enough to slide that on without it pinching anything. Sealant around the rim of it, put one in, and the second one, sealant. I'm going to get this onto here. Gonna make sure these are started. Push these in. They're gonna sit flush with this bad boy. We don't want to force them in, just be nice enough to it. Sit up against the wall, they come on nice and flush. Yep, they'll hit the wall behind it, a little nip up. Again, they are pressed against, they're flush, a little more nip, nip, nip. It feels correct to me. Clean this up. Beautiful, look at that. The old cam seals are hard as a rock. They feel like biscuits. I could probably crack it. Yeah, see that? They're splitting straight away. That should be flexible and soft. These finished. Rubbish. As before, I cleaned, I've just checked it again and wiped it down again, that the mating surface of the gasket is all perfect. So we're gonna have to get the old one out, and what I like to do personally is put a little bit of sealant just on the corners, so when they get pressed down, I might even just smear it along the line. Some people just trust the rubbers. I do prefer a little bit of sealant. With these gaskets, we've got one for each side. They are slightly different. We've got one straight bit and one that has curves in it. So these curves are here. You'll press this in softly around the whole way, and you do the same for the other side, and when you're done, that's when I'll get the sealant on. I know it's not everyone's thing, but it's my thing. Sealant along the whole thing. Usually I just dab the corners, but hey, why not while we're here? That goes there. And there. Beautiful. Then we got to put this thing back in. This holds the spark plug leads in place, and it just sits here on top of those two, and we'll bolt it in now. These back on. Okay, so we have the cam gears back on now. We've got the cam covers on, everything's sealed and done. What we need to do is get to top dead center again before we put the belt on. Cam gears were only moved a little bit this way, and this was only moved a little bit clockwise as well. So we just got to rotate them back to their points. This gear has a mark right there, and that's going to join up to this dot here, and these two markings here will line up to these two up the top, these little ridges. When that's together, we get the belt on, lock it all up, put the tensioner on, and then we rotate it a few times and make sure that it doesn't jump a tooth, comes back to its same position. That's basically how we check the timing before we get the engine into the car and all of that stuff. The other way, once it's done as well, we're going to be able to put those plastic covers back on, and the harmonic balancer, which is just behind me, has a mark on the top as well, and when we rotate it, that will line up to the zero on that cover. Now that cover is this one over here. As I said, we will be replacing it because it's absolutely destroyed. So I've gone to my friend, one of the original Supra guys. He had a spare set, so he's given me a brand new engine cover that will end up taking over there. It's going to look a lot prettier, and we don't have to see that big cut. We've also got the top piece as well. Yeah, the top piece here had a little bit of a cut in it. Why not go make it look a little bit better? Let's start that process now. Brand new tensioner bearing. We just chuck this in place, and that protects it from binding up against that wall, because it's going to be moving quite a lot up and down all day, every day as it's running. And then this goes here. You start this, and we'll be careful because it bolts to the oil pump. It is aluminium, it's easy to destroy the threads. It's also why you don't over tighten stuff. Right, we'll thread this in now. It's not resisting. Alright, we've chucked the tensioner in position. We're going to get this belt on. Make sure it goes around all the teeth perfectly. This is probably not enough tension. Don't know if we can jump it one more tooth. Nope. Once that tightens up, it will pressurize correctly. Get it around the bottom gear. Here, I've just noticed this mark is off by a little bit, and that's what's affecting us right now. Now that we've got the gear on all the way, I can actually see that this line wasn't marked up. Now it is. If you see that mark to that dot, that's why it was resisting just then. And we'll pull the tensioner pin once we get it in. See, that slots into the teeth now perfectly because it's exactly where it needs to be. Once this applies tension to the belt, it's going to pull that. It's going to pull everything nice and tight. Now, if you've got some experience, you know exactly how this is supposed to feel and look, and that is correct to me. This is now where we get the tensioner, a grenade looking little thing. We're going to chuck this in here and bolt it up. I'm going to put some Loctite on them just so it doesn't fall off. Even if you have to apply heat to get these bolts out, it's better than it loosening and doing what it's done before, which is fall off this engine. One started. That's those two. Belts in position, and we will be pulling this tensioner off. So watch what happens now. Pull. Not very exciting, is it? But this is now tense. This just needs to be rotated. It's still a bit flappy. Still a bit flappy, but this is definitely tight. So we're going to rotate this now. Even at one rotation, everything should have evened up in the tension department and will be good to run. To rotate the engine, we're just going to chuck this back on as a spacer for the bolt effectively. We're just going to rotate this bolt back in so we can turn the whole engine from that one point and reset everything. Now before doing this, you're going to have to take the spark plugs out so that you can have no compression in the engine, and this is going to make it easier to rotate, and it means none of the parts are going to be stressed and pressurized against each other. If you noticed, this tensed up just then, so now that's tense, tense, tense. What we're also doing in doing this whole procedure is making sure the belt doesn't fall forward. Not only that it tenses up and lines up, but we need to make sure that there's nothing forcing the belt forward and we don't have that issue that the previous owner had with this engine. The belt didn't come forward. It's tense everywhere, perfectly, evenly. Now we're going to get this balancer back off. We're going to put the covers back on and reconnect everything. Something to note is that this, I don't know what it's called, but it actually holds the belt on. Don't ask me how, but this sits here, the cover holds it in its place, and the belt shouldn't come forward once it's all together. On the GTE, there's a pin here that you actually bolt on that holds the gear from coming forward, like it's just physically impossible. It seems that the NA oil pump doesn't have that option, so if it falls, but it still shouldn't. This should be enough. This engine was missing a drive belt tensioner. I have a spare of these, so I'm going to chuck this one on. This goes here, and this will keep our drive belt, or serpentine belt, technically, tight. I don't have the exact bolts, and that's why it's got the wrong bolts on it, but they work. Look at that, starting to look together again. Now we get to put this back on for good. After all the chaos that it put us through, on the engine it goes. Before we continue, as I said, once we've finished rotating the engine, these dots are going to line up with these marks, like that, and our mark on the pulley is going to line up to the 0. Now I know that looks slightly off, it's because the paint's on an angle, but that is basically perfect. Here's something you might laugh at. I like to put Loctite on this. So now we're putting the crank bolt back in, the famous crank bolt that nearly snapped the breaker bar and put us on the internet for 2.7 million views now on that short. I've got the bolt here ready to go. I do have my torque wrench. I'm not going to tell you what it's set to, but it's not as high as the factory recommends because the factory is stupid. Now, I'm going to show you this time how it is held because the internet didn't seem to understand how it was held. We've got a lever bar in between two flywheel bolts that are screwed into the back of the crank. When we tighten from this side, it's going to rotate clockwise. This is already locked because I've already preset it, preloaded it, and we'll be able to tighten until it clicks. Now it is still very hard, so I do have a volunteer that we will not see on camera. Maddie is going to be stopping the engine from tipping over and just letting me know if that bar falls out the back. She's hiding behind the camera, but she's very important to this part because...
Very important in general.
And thinks she's very important in general because Mario's not here. Fuck you. That is so tight. Okay. Come on, can we get there? Woohoo! Anyone that says that needs to be tighter can go themselves. Ta-da! Done. That's out. Yeeted. So now I'm going to chuck on the exhaust manifold that we got from Angus. I'm going to probably finish up the episode there because we've got a lot of other stuff to do. We're going to be replacing all of the old crusty hoses. Now it comes down to water hoses if they need it and all the vacuum lines. But for now we're going to chuck this on and we're going to get back to the other stuff later. Just going to put some WD-40 on these studs. They are old and a little bit rusty. And again, another shout out to Yakuza Motorsports for supplying these exhaust gaskets. Brand new gaskets. These bad boys because, well, the engine didn't come with them, and even if it did, it's good to replace them and get all new stuff. And it goes on the way. This one goes on the back, and this one goes on the front. We'll chuck the heat shield over, and well, we're that much closer to seeing a complete engine, so with that being said, I'm going to see you on the next one.